What was the properties or what was about it that drew you to it so much?
It was just a very powerful. It's like, almost like nature's aspirin, right? So your body has an endocannabinoid system. It's meant to take this in. So I think a lot of people, I look at it as almost just like another nutritional supplement, right? Like your body can process this. There are effects that have been well studied. It's non-psychoactive. It doesn't affect you that way. And when you put it in conjunction with other nutrients and stuff like that, like it just kind of what I saw through my research and my stories that I've heard or people have used these products is it almost kind of loosens those pathways up and it just allows your body to process things. So it kind of makes you more efficient.
Yeah, that's interesting. I've never heard anybody explain it like that before. Welcome to Thursday Thursdays at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. My name is Jessie Ott, the host of this podcast, which is all about beverage innovation. I talk with innovation pioneers from agriculture to glass. Thank you for listening, and be sure to subscribe to be notified of all new episodes. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Thursday Thursdays. My name is Jessie Ott, and I have Pete Olander here, founder of Drink Happie. Welcome, Pete.
Hey, glad to be here. Thanks for having me on.
No, I'm super, super excited, and I'm even more excited about the timing that you're on. So we have a lot of really interesting things to talk about. But let's start with you. And where are you calling from?
I'm in Chicago, Illinois right now, Wheaton, Illinois, right outside Chicago.
Okay. I was born and raised in Iowa.
Well, I'm a
Growing
Hawkeye.
up. You're a Hawkeye?
I'm a Hawkeye.
Go Hawkeyes! That
Go Hawk.
never happens.
It should
What's
happen more.
ironic, it should happen more. I agree. Yeah, for sure. Just somehow, some way, it seems that about 10% of the people I interview are from Philadelphia. And I still haven't figured that one out yet. It's wild.
They must like beverages there.
Yeah, beverages or they're entrepreneurs in the water. I don't know. It's interesting. Is that where you're from? Are you from Wheaton?
I'm from Wheaton. I went to school at Iowa, University of Iowa. And then after that, I moved to Colorado for about 15 years.
Oh
Um,
wow. Where
we're Denver proper. So a little
okay.
neighborhood, Platt Park. So we were kind of in the city there for a bit. Then moved back to my hometown, and since then I've been traveling back and forth from to California for just my business.
Okay. And what got you into this side of the business?
Nutrition, actually. Prior to getting this going, I was working at a nutrition company, right? And we were working. It's very fortunate. We were working with a lot of professional athletes and working on just different, ways to supplement them, looking at natural methods. And I got into kind of greens powders and understanding kind of, how to manage nutrition through, just real fruits and vegetables and looking at kind of how they interacted. And, one thing led to another because we're looking at, anti-inflammatory products, right? For
Yeah.
recovery and performance. And this was around 2014, 15. I started, hearing more about CBD and, kind of just learned more about the plant and the molecule and went down the rabbit hole that way.
What was the properties or what was about it that drew you to it so much?
It was just a very powerful, it's like, almost like nature's aspirin, right? So your body has an endocannabinoid system. It's meant to take this in. So I think a lot of people, I look at it as almost just like another nutritional supplement, right? Like your body can process this. There are effects that have been well studied. It's non-psychoactive. It doesn't affect you that way. And when you put it in conjunction with other nutrients and stuff like that, like it just kind of what I saw through my research and my stories that I've heard or people have used these products is it almost kind of loosens those pathways up and it just allows your body to process things. So it kind of makes you
Hmm.
more efficient.
Yeah, that's interesting. I've never heard anybody explain it like that before.
It's very interesting. So I do think it is, like I said, I look at it as more as a supplement rather than a drug or whatever.
Right.
Because I mean, your body's made for it, and it's been here forever. So it's
Right.
a interesting way to look at it the other way. And that's only been looked at that way for what, 130 years, maybe?
If that. Yeah, I guess it is because yeah, I guess it's, 2026 now. So it's almost 30 years. It's crazy. Time is flying by.
Yeah, it is. Speeding up.
So I saw a post where you said that you were working in the field. So talk about how that came into to be for you as part of this process.
Yeah, well, when we started Happy, I it was, a ready
And
to drink
can we go
as
back just for a second? Sorry to interrupt. Let Happy started in 2019, like literally right after the Farm Bill.
yeah, well, 2018. I was working on it, and we launched it as a CBD drink because I was on the
Okay.
nutrition side. So it didn't at that point, it didn't have Delta-9
Okay.
hemp in it.
Okay.
And, we did it yeah, it was probably not the best time to launch because 2019, get in, you get a beverage on the market. We had a lot of interest very early for some distributors because CBD was kind of a hot topic back then. And then by the time we were about to get in there and go, the COVID shutdown happened, and they were
Yeah.
distributed to a lot of stores. So that kind of put the clamps on that. But I had this inventory. We started selling on Amazon. And it was doing very well. It was a good, people liked their flavor, they liked the taste, they liked the nutritional profile, and it worked. And then all of a sudden Amazon got, even though it was all compliant hemp, everything was fine, they just shut us down.
No kidding.
Oh,
I didn't know they did that.
hey,
How many hemp beverages or CBD beverages were around back then?
there was a fair amount, handful, at least 5 or 6, right? And they were
Okay.
selling like recess and, things
Yeah.
like, you know, I was playing by all the rules, but you know, they made some decision, and then you're dealing with, the 800-pound gorilla. So it's
Right.
like, okay, well, fine. But at that point in time, though, it gave credibility. Like, people like the brand, they like the product, they like, the effect, they like what we're doing here, right? So it was at that point in time, I was like, okay, well, obviously there's something more to this plant, and like, let's maybe try and do it where we can do it. So we went out to California, and it gave me a chance to, because I had connections there from when I worked in nutrition, right? But it also gave me a chance that I felt, I was like, hey, let me get closer to the plant, control my supply chain, make sure it's a clean product that, I can feel good about, giving to the market, and get in there. And, the California cannabis market is a beast into itself. And then not only that, drinks are very hard in the dispensary model because, you know, what we try and do at Happy was more, hey, this is a microdose, a low dose, an easy way to get into it. Whereas, the consumer base for dispensaries, they're looking to get maximum effect, and
Right.
so, and not only that, they're not set up in like a real distribution network, so because moving liquids is a lot heavier than moving the other products. So that presented some challenges. So what we did at that point in time is like, okay, well, until I wasn't really sure because I knew people were doing Delta-8 drinks and 9 drinks and selling on the market. But I was like, after my experience with Amazon, I'm like, well, let me just like wait and see where this goes before I, you know, do something else. So went out to California, gave me a chance to get closer to the plant, get really involved in the community and understand. So we're in NorCal. And at that time, because drinks were hard to move in the dispensaries, we said, okay, well, let's just, really build the brand and just around, cannabis and the plant. So we do, distribute products in throughout California. And it gave me a chance to really understand what it took to grow this plant, what it does in California as far as living soil and how important it is. Because at the end of the day, they are, decades ahead of all these other states that just started to go legal as far as the infrastructure, the knowledge. So it gave us a real good learning experience of, hey, this is, how it should be used. This is why you use it. This is intentional why you use it. And this is how to make it not scary. So then a couple years ago, I felt comfortable with Delta-9. All right, this is the time to get in again. the rest is, here we are today.
And so, can you talk a little bit? I'm not as familiar with it, with pot and all the CBD and the hemp and the THC and the process of how it's made and the synthetics, which is the Delta-9 and Delta-10. Can you talk a little bit about each of those different categories and how they fit into what you're doing with your business model?
Yeah. So, I mean, there's naturally occurring cannabinoids, and they all can be, but there are ways to turn them into breaking molecular compounds and turning them into something else. But what we focus on the CBD and the Delta-9, and those are naturally occurring compounds, so unadulterated, right off the hemp plant.
So Delta-9 is not synthetic then.
And no, Delta-9 is not synthetic. Delta-8
8
is
is.
is synthetic.
And Delta-10?
Delta-10 is synthetic.
Okay.
THCO is synthetic. And those are the ones that really are getting that should probably be getting the heat in the in the farm bills and things like that. Um, because they are intensified cannabinoids. How they make it Delta 8 is, they use a chemical extraction and then they take CBD and they convert it to Delta 8 by breaking one of the chains in the molecular compound. And that's the same process they would use to do the THCOs or the Delta 10s. Do they have different effects? Yeah, they definitely have different effects on you.
Is
Some
it
are,
a chemical change or is it like by heat? I mean, what's the process? Like, how
yeah,
does it work?
it's by heat and chemical, just depending on what they're converting to. So
Okay.
they would do either or depending on what they're extracting.
And that's the part that's not regulated.
Well, it's regulated in a fact where you have to get tested, right? And because at the end of the day, it's got to be safe for use.
Right.
And how they regulate it at that point is, okay, send it to this third party labs. So now there are third party labs that are, federally okayed, and you have to test for all the compounds in it, right? All the active compounds. And then you have to test for any pesticides, that would be used in growing it. And this is something, that all organic, farmers use. And then they would test for heavy metals. So really those are the big three that you're going to look for because that doesn't affect your body. One thing I will say is, a lot of these, labs, these approved labs, they're looking at testing protocols that are, limits that are way lower than you would look in an organic fruit or vegetable. Like, especially in California, the standards we have to meet, it's incredible. It's very hard to do compared to just what you're going and getting at the grocery store. Like the levels for whatever are typically a lot higher than what we're subjected to because I think of the category of what it is.
And what do you mean by that exactly? Like, give an example of what standards you're under versus someone else.
Well, I just think it comes down to, people still look at cannabis as a drug, you
Yeah.
know? So it's like, okay, so because of that, the association is like, okay, this needs to be in their minds as close to pharmaceutical grade as possible. Right. So the standards of, hey, your acceptable level is, 0.001 parts per million, and then for anything else would be like point 0.1. Like, but they have standards in there. It has to pass all these tests, and testing labs have a hard time keeping up because there are changes here and there that they want us, look for a new pesticide. I mean, it's just great. You have to, which is why, and that's part of the reason why I went to California to say, okay, how can we control our source on one more level? So what are my farms using? Are they using living soil? Do they make their own fertilizers? Do they do like, how clean can we make this? Because if that's what, we need to do, you know, let's do that.
Yeah, and I didn't even realize that there was fertilizer used in growing, but of course it is because it's used on everything
Yeah,
to
phosphates and
yeah, to grow. But I didn't even think about that because I mean it's a plant. It's like anything else. It needs soil and fertilizer, water and sun.
exactly. Exactly. And the thing that's nice about hemp, especially that's different than I guess hemp farmers and, people who grow cannabis for medical use is they're growing this stuff outdoors. So we grow ours in the middle of a vineyard, right? Like 16
Wow.
acre biodynamic farm, but it's a lot more, hey, how clean is the water used and then how much sunlight are you getting? And whereas because we're looking for the quality of the plants, like the entire thing, the entire piece of it. And then some of the other facilities that would be growing indoor, for example, the cannabis market is very dependent on how high of levels can I get THC. And in order to do that, it's like you're giving something up to get higher THC content, whether that's terpenes, whether it's CBD, whether it's CBG, because you still got to make up that 100% somewhere. So you're taking energy and shifting it to what is going to grow on the plant.
Okay. And so how do you extract THC or how do you create it?
So you drive it from you have to bake it down. So it's a
Okay.
heating process. And
Okay.
then we just, at a certain boiling point or temperature, you're allowed to separate the cannabinoids and we just suck those off. That's how we know, hey, this is CBD right here. This is CBG. This is THC Delta-9, right? And then we just, separate that, make sure it's pure, and then, do our process to make sure it emulsifies correctly in the water so it stabilizes.
Wow, that seems really complicated.
Yeah, no, it's a multiple step
It's a
process, but yeah,
yeah.
these guys are good.
Are you able to sell off all the different parts then of it? Or
Of the
do you
hemp
use
plant?
it all? Yeah.
Yeah, and see that's an opportunity in itself if people can get more into it because, they used to use hemp to make plastics. They're
Yeah.
using it in building materials now, and that's can be used for all the waste, all the sticks and
Yes.
stems that you don't even want to use. So it's a faster growing renewable resource than bamboo, which is amazing. And
Yeah.
you can make clothing out of it, shoes out of
Yep.
it. There's a lot of
I
uses
heard it
for it.
was either paper was gonna either be hemp or timber, and it wa some guy had invested into the timber industry, and so the world went with timber or something. I don't know. That's what Gene, Sullivan was talking about back in the day, and so I'm like, "Well, hemp makes so much sense to be paper.
Well,
We
the
don't need
first
to
dollar
to."
bills were hemp. The original currency was hemp.
That is so cool. Like, why are we not taking advantage of this resource? Because it obviously grows everywhere. I just read about a farm in Wisconsin that's growing it. So it doesn't, it seems to be pretty resilient and can grow in, multiple places. I mean, maybe this is there's a future there.
There's a big future. So, just got to figure out, have the right equipment and because it takes a lot of, some similar processing. But if these guys are doing bamboo, if they're doing this, it's a very similar process and it can have a lot of volume go in there to make a lot of, I read an article regarding they're using hemp to make concrete. They're calling it Hempcrete. And it had something like it was, resistant to mold. It had a higher R value than any other building materials we use, and you can extrude it out of these 3D printed houses. So it's like it's fireproof. Very interesting stuff. And I'm like, this stuff it's gold.
It is gold. That's the new currency.
Yeah, right. I hope it hasn't
Move
been.
over, dollar. That would be funny. That would make a lot of other countries pissed because they
Yeah.
they have such a horrible view of it, But from an industrial standpoint, it should be fine. I mean, they've been putting hemp in protein powders and stuff for a long, long time.
It used to be in the food stock for all the animals. They would feed it to the animals. They took it out of the food source. That's where a lot of people would get, their CBD and stuff like that because it would be high in that. The animals would eat it and then it would get into their, you know, so we'd eat that. But that's been
Well,
taken
that
out of
would
the
help
food
with their inflammation
information. Exactly.
and they'd be happier and more efficient.
Yeah. Happy cows, water out, smiles
Happy
in their face.
I think they deserve that.
They do.
They deserve to be happy.
Yeah.
So, can we step back for just a second? At what point, or was there a big aha moment where you were like, okay, I'm doing this wellness job and I like it and I'm, learning and researching. At what point did you go, I think I'm going to create a beverage?
Well, we were working on some RTDs, energy drinks and stuff like that. And at the same point in time, I was working on these greens powders, and it was like two opposite sides of the spectrum. One's like, hey, get your, all hyped up and jazzed. And the green's like, hey, let's just calm down and rejuvenate. I was like, okay, well, and one was more natural, right? Or at least it just seemed that way. It just, you didn't have the, come down from the caffeine and all this stuff. And I was like, okay, well, and I was talking to some guys I work with, and like, yeah, everyone wants to get, lean, or they want to get this. And like, I just think people just really want to be happy. Like, that's all people want. And I'm like, you know what? That's probably a good thing. How people happy when they feel good, relax. I was
Yeah.
like, I think that could work. So that was kind of my aha moment. It took me a little bit to figure out how to put it all together because, you know, not many people wanted to can CBD drinks. Not many people wanted to do this. So it took some work to figure that side of it out, but I just thought like, there always has to be two opposite ends of the spectrum. People love the Red Bull, but okay, you can't be doing that all the time. So there's got to be a market for this, and I think it's proven right. There's a lot of
Hmm.
companies that are doing really well with it. And at the end, people are taking a more active role in how they're living their life and in wellness, and they're more interested in it. Like, it's not just about cutting calories. It's not just about this. It's like, okay, how can I like actually have a better life when I do this? And, my generation, I got two kids. So it's like, yeah, going out and, having a bunch of drinks at night is fun with the boys, but the next morning is really brutal too.
Very
So
brutal.
maybe I can cut back half of that and, replace with this and still have that good, feeling I want, and, not feel weird at a party, have a drink in my hand and, get there, but ingest way less calories, feel better about it. It's just makes a lot of sense if you do it the right way.
Yeah. No, 100%. And what was the flavor profiles that you were wanting to come up with? Like, what was the process of not only the product itself, but the flavors that are in the can?
Yeah. So the idea is to kind of take you back a little bit. So if you look at our can design, it's kind of got that Peter Max little 80s style flair to it. And I'm an 80s child, right? So what I wanted
Very
to do
fun.
is have something in there. Yeah, it's like like a light soda. I love like sparkling waters and stuff like that, and they're good. But I wanted it to have a little more flavor and reminisce of kind of, hey, something that brought me back. So they kind of mimic like a nice lighter version of a soda. Like the grapefruit tastes a little bit like a squirt, right? But it's
Okay.
30 calories.
Right.
And it gives you a good feel. The grape tastes a little bit like a grape crush, a little like it has that flavor profile. But we're putting minerals in there. We're putting agave nectar. It's like the natural version of it. So a little more of a candy esque flavor. I wanted to, but that helped me mask the cannabinoids in there too, because until we figured that out, there was some bitterness, and had to do that the right way. And I wanted to sweeten it with agave nectar just because I think that, it's just easy on on your digestive system and stuff like that as far as absorption and stuff like that. So
Interesting.
that's
I didn't
kind
know
of
that.
where we went.
Okay. That's super cool. So, do you want to transition over into the tasting?
Yeah. Let's
All
do
right,
this.
let's do it. Okay. So, we've got two types. We've got the THC and the fungi. Said it
Fungi
wrong again.
fusion.
Fungi fusion. Those is so cool. Yeah, I've got watermelon, blue raspberry, and mango mimosa. And I'll tell you, I've been buying coffees with mushrooms, and I can tell a difference. My brain focuses a little bit more,
Yeah. No,
and
it's a nice little
I'm more
clean energy.
efficient.
Yeah. No, it's just a nice little hack, I think. And the mushrooms make a lot of sense. It's a good, like, it's a clean energy lift. Like a
Yeah,
calm. It's like a calm energy, which sounds weird, but it's like, all right, I'm focused, I'm dialed in, but I don't get the jitters, but I still got enough juice.
yeah. It's cool. So which one should we start with?
Well, I got both these out too. You want to try the fungi fusion first? I got a
Yeah,
blue
let's do that.
raspberry here,
Okay.
but
They're cool cans. For those of you on YouTube, you can see it, but
you got, hey, try the mango mimosa. People love that one. You're going to love
okay.
it. Oh, but I'll do this one. I can do this one. They're
Okay, here's the
delicious.
mango. The artwork is so fun. It
Thank
is ease. And you do have 900 milligrams lion's mane, 700 milligrams
you.
cordyceps, 400 milligrams reishi, and then you got the magnesium and the calcium. And so I guess the sugars and carbs just come from the agave.
That's exactly right. So all
Yes.
natural.
And this can is only 40 calories, which is unheard of. You got the bubbles, it's pretty clear color. Smells It's very fragrant.
Yeah.
Smells great. I'm a mango person though. I love mango. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, you can't taste any funky mushrooms on that one, right?
Uh-uh. Not at all. I had another podcast with another gentleman that had a different line. He was doing like coffees, matchas, and then afternoon drinks. And I did all 6 of them, and I was a mess. I was having so much fun. But I wanted to do a dry January test. And I wanted to do a blood draw in December or the first part of January and drink one of these a day for a month and then redraw my blood and see if there's any changes. Because I think that'd be an interesting experiment.
That would be awesome. I think, yeah, I love the idea of getting blood tests and like, you know, waiting like a
Yeah,
quarter to
quarter
see,
is
all right,
probably.
change my diet a little bit and see how it really affects. Cause everyone's different, right?
Yep. Because, as you get older, and if you do drink, which, my wife and I will love wine and have occasional drinks and whatnot, whatever, but it increases your blood pressure. And so this would actually have the opposite effect.
Yep. Yeah, a lot of it's about just your hormone control, like cortisol. People are stress, anxiety, their cortisol levels are up, and then that affects the rest of the rest of them. So that's why they're like, "Oh, get in balance." Okay, well, I mean, that's where that calming, effect or reishi or but you can get that from meditation. You can get this is just a nutritional supplement to help you get there.
Okay, cool. All right, well, which other one should we try?
You want to try one of the THC ones?
I do have a wellness check-in with my doctor after this, so
Well, you'll be smiling when you walk in. This is perfect.
there you go. All right, which flavor should we go for?
Well, try try the cherry. You'll like the cherry.
Okay. I love cherries. Is it clear too? It's got a little color to it.
Yeah.
I poured a little bit too much. But I've got other glasses here. I can pour some other ones. But yeah, that's definitely cherry. Yeah, that's really good. That's
Thank
a
you.
really good flavor of cherry.
Yeah. We worked on that one for
Refreshing.
some of them, and we had this problem at first too. Is we were mixing up, it had like a little cherry medicine-y flavor, and I was like, "No, no, we gotta redo this." Like, I want it to be like wild cherry, but like a
Yeah.
light one. And I want it to be, and this is the thing with all my drinks. Like if we're gonna tell people this is gonna be in there, I don't want them drinking half of it and getting like, oh, I don't like the taste of it anymore. It's tasting funky. Like I want it to taste clean the whole way through, so they finish it,
Right.
so they know what they got.
Yeah. No, this is definitely clean. And it's not malty, or anything like that. It's real fresh. I mean, the bubbles obviously help with kind of that feeling,
Mhm.
and I mean, the color's great. I don't think that people normally do this, or maybe they do. I don't know. Do they mix these with alcohol?
Yeah, crossfading. That's what they call that. But
Crossfading, it's a real thing. Okay.
it's a real crossfading is a real thing. I mean, people call me and someone sent me like a huge line of drinks they made with Happy. Like but they were easy with like the grapefruit they'd mix with vodka for like a greyhound, or they made a margarita with the lime, and it's just the flavors are like strong enough but like not too heavy. Like they add a nice flavor to it without it being overpowering.
Yeah. Well, I'm wondering if with the minerals that you have in there, if it's almost hydrating and it eases the effect of being hungover or having being tired the next day.
Yeah, that's kind of an ode to my nutrition days. Adding minerals like magnesium is a big one. A lot of people are deficient in that,
Yes,
but
most
that
people,
helps.
I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, hey, if I can add it in here, give someone a little extra bump, it does help with hydration and muscle recovery. Is what magnesium is really known for.
Doesn't it help you sleep at night too?
Yep.
Knowing that I'm probably deficient somewhat in magnesium, I have a friend, one of our good friends in Dallas. He went keto and he's been studying his body ever since. And he's the one that told us about every 3 months he got his blood tested because he was eating a different diet to see what would help and turn things for him. And then his workouts and all the thing, like he's pretty dialed in. It's pretty cool. I know he takes the magnesium supplements at night, which, would probably be a good idea.
Yeah, that's one I actually do. Is magnesium and zinc together at night.
Together at night. Okay, that's good to
Yeah.
know.
ZMA. You can just buy. It's like a $8 bottle on Amazon. It's a
Okay. Well, I
highly.
have them both here.
Oh, okay.
Well, I don't have magnesium, but I do have zinc.
Well, hey, you just drink a couple Happies, throw some
Yeah,
zinc in, and
there
you'll
you go.
sleep awesome.
I'm looking forward to that tonight. It's exciting. Do we want to try another one?
Yeah, yeah. Here, yeah. I love it. Yeah, try. Any of they're delicious.
Grapefruit?
Do it. That's the OG original grapefruit. That's the
The
first flavor I
original.
worked on.
I love grapefruit. I don't eat enough of them. I don't think about it. I eat a lot of oranges.
It's a vitamin C.
I just took it from the can this time. I forgot.
That's all right. What do you think? What do you think? Initial can sip. How does that compare to glass sip? I guess we'll know.
Well, no, we'll do a comparison. This was pretty clear. Exactly the same. It's not overpowering. It's really light. Grapefruit.
What do you like that grapefruit flavor? Does it remind you of a little
Yeah.
squirt?
Yes.
It's good,
Yes,
right?
but not with the sugar, because
Yeah.
when you think
Now
of
with
squirt, you're like,
what do
oh.
they have in there? Sucralose or something back in there? Like they put that in Fresca, right? So there's that weird sweet at the very end. I was like, smooth
Yeah.
that baby out. This thing would be perfect.
Yeah. No, that is really good. It's refreshing. You could easily add vodka or something to that.
Yeah, you could.
That is cool. Well, this has been so much fun. Thank you for sending the samples. Do you want to talk about price? I know I got one box that looks like you got a 4-pack here.
Yeah. Yeah, we got the we're doing a special on our website right now on Drink Happie. So 20% off. It's $18.99, but 20% off that. And we will get a code out for everybody, but I think it'll be Drink Happie 20. And if any of your listeners want to go in and check us out, we can offer that discount on the other lines as well. And in addition, the Fungi Fusion, we're on Amazon too. So all 3 flavors are on Amazon. So you can check our reviews out there. We're getting great reviews, and excited about that one too.
Yeah. No, that's cool. I mean, my previous podcast, Jean, she's an investor. And so I don't know if she's an investor in your company, but I know she's invested in a lot of different ones. And she's so fun and so nervous about this bill. And I couldn't believe what had transpired. And who would have thought that somebody would have just slipped something so random in from, and I think this was filed like last year. It's the HR 4121, but it's part of a bigger study, like a committee, right? And that's kind of where I actually took the PDF and I downloaded it from the congressional website and I put it in ChatGPT and I go, tell me what this means. And I think to some degree, there's some regulation in there that, like, to your point, probably needs to happen. I mean, we've been asking for this to be regulated at a federal level so we can move on, right, in some ways. But there's also a lot of concern, and I would like to have you kind of tell me what your thoughts are and how is it going to affect you?
Yeah, well, I think it's becoming clear because when they threw it in November, it was just very interesting timing. It was right after Trump had signed cannabis into Schedule 3 instead of 1. and then they had the shutdown, and then this got thrown in there. So I thought the timing was really weird. Are they going to nationalize cannabis everywhere and just, hemp, the hemp beverages in general, they're a different category. And, they have distributors, they have stores that are, actively selling this in stores. And I think it's been pretty successful up until this point. And when this went in, it was crazy because all the distributors are like, well, I don't know what's going to happen. We're going to have to send this back. We don't know. And now state by state, Illinois just released one that's saying, okay, we're carving out beverages. There's another state that says, okay, we're going to carve out beverages. We're going to
Okay.
because beverages in general, there's 3 different checkpoints before this gets in the consumer's hands. You got to test the emulsification liquid before it goes in the can, right? Then you got to test the can after it comes off the line, right? Then you have to do stability testing on it, right? So it's tested so many ways, whereas some of these other products like gummies and some of the other products, they're tested once, right? And then there it is. And
Okay.
these are
That's a
these
good
are
point of differentiation.
well, yeah, no, it's just, and I think at the end of the day, that's where these big alcohol companies and distributors are like, okay, because it has to be done in a big facility. You can't do this in your kitchen, So it
Right.
has to be done in a facility that does this all the time, so it's clean. So that, I think beverages, we had to wade through this like everybody else because we're in the category, but we're a completely separate kind of line. Like we should be looked at differently, and I think the powers that be are realizing that, right? And in addition, the beverages that are getting to, the consumers that are in liquor stores and grocery stores, they're looking for a lower dose product anyway. They're not looking for that max,
Right.
let's stare at a wall. They're doing it to enjoy their life. Have a couple drinks with their friends, feel like they're, still in control and can go, but had a good time, right? Totally different customer base than the people who are going into a dispensary. And, some, I shouldn't say that, not some are going in just to that, but it's the difference between drinking like a whiskey and a beer.
Yeah. Okay. Can you just explain what Trump signed from you said it went from like
Schedule
a
one. Yeah.
Schedule 1?
Schedule one, like narcotic, is what cannabis is listed for since the 30s, right? And then he reduced it to a Schedule 3. And what that did for the industry, cannabis in general, is it allowed more medical studies to be,
Right. Okay.
done.
And that's what we want,
That's
especially for our
100%
troops
what we want.
and all the PTSD and all the things that they're having because we know it works. So that's it. That's exactly what we want.
Yeah, because it's been anecdotal or whatever to this point. But we need like the real studies. Say, hey, put it through, I guess, all your tests the FDA wants to do, and just get the word out there. Because it is not causing damage to people's internals, right? So is it really doing what they say it is? And everyone, there's a lot of stories out there. Let's give us the parameters and let's see if it does. So I think at the end of the day, it's good. Now, and what that does though is it brings in the pharmaceutical companies, right? So there's going to be another level of kind of oversight, or maybe there's some useful things that the pharmaceutical industry can help to push along, because I think it does maybe threaten some of their lines of business, but we're trying to have people be very healthy for, in every way they can. And it's either your diet affects your health long term. So this is just a small little step, almost like a nutritional supplement. Like I said, if you use the right way, then you're not getting to this point where it's like, I got to be on all this medication.
Right. Okay. That's interesting. I haven't thought about it from a pharmaceutical standpoint. You always kind of worry that they're just going to shelve it, and not do anything with it because it could threaten some of the drugs that they have. But maybe that's part of the evolution
Yeah, well, maybe they
of
get
it.
it. Maybe it, I wouldn't be surprised if some of them start getting into it or have a division. And as long as, they can benefit, I'm sure they're going to be interested in it.
Yeah. So how did you find out about this slip-in bill in November for the shutdown?
My attorney called me like, "Hey, did you see this?" And I was like, "What?" And
Uh,
then you go on LinkedIn and it's all over. People
all
are
over. Yeah.
all over the place, right? And it was people thought the sky was falling. I'd be getting calls from other owners and saying, what
I
can
don't
you
blame them
please?
because November, it's a billion-dollar industry in 2025. How are you going to wipe that out?
I
Because
mean, there's a lot of
I,
jobs.
s- and I still don't even understand who's affected. I don't understand the point 4 to the point 3 and like versus THC, like what products are being affected. And what ChatGPT told me was it was really more of the synthetics, like the Delta-9s and Delta-10s, and then parts per container had to be lowered. And so I don't know how that affects anything that you guys create or who's affected by that. I mean, how many people do you think this is going to affect?
A lot. You got packaging people, you got processors, you have farmers, you have, retail salespeople going outside. I mean, there's an industry built around this. And,
Yeah.
I think it's just easier for them to say all cannabinoids, right? Because unless you're a nerd about it and really get into it and understand the differences of it, it's just like, well, who's going to understand? So we'll throw them all in and then, we'll pull the pieces out depending on who's yelling at us the loudest, I think. But I mean, yeah, I think any synthetic should have some additional eyes on it. I mean, if you're growing it, it's a natural compound, it's in the right levels where, I mean, at the end of the day, the liquor companies, talking going back to beverages and the distributors, they finally got comfortable with the 5 and 10 milligrams because, like, okay, that's the equivalent of about a beer. So it was real easy for them to say, okay, that's how it's going to affect this person, right? But it's just synthetics can be very different on how your body processes them. And that can be, you just don't want to, there's a lot more real life evidence of CBD and THC than Delta-8,
Yeah.
Delta-10, Delta whatever.
Right.
So it adds a layer of complexity and it's just easier for them to say, okay, well, let's just throw it all in there and then we'll see what happens.
Okay. So, does your lawyer feel that the industry is going to kind of, you already mentioned some states are peeling back the beverages, but do you feel like there's going to be a path forward that they can move fast enough? Because I was watching this video of these farmers in Wisconsin, and it's like we're in winter and they're going to be planting fields in the next few months. Like they got to know what's going on before they put in a crop.
Yeah.
So what are what is a does anybody know what this process looks like?
I stopped trying to figure out what the government was going to do. I don't think there's any use in doing that.
It doesn't make sense to me from the point of view of Trump because he's a pro business guy. He's a pro money guy. And I can't imagine that he'd want to get rid of $1 billion in tax revenues.
Exactly. So if you follow the money, it has to. So is it just to kind
It
of get
just
everyone excited and up in arms? And then part of me thinks that it's a game, like, okay, because a lot of the bigger beverage companies, they're expanding. So they know something. They're taking
well,
a
I
risk.
just saw a post about how Sprouts just took in 10 or 12 different brands across the country. So nobody's stopping.
Nobody's stopping. And if these retailers are on board and they're paying taxes and everybody and they're doing it the right way, they're selling it to the right people, they're making sure their vendors are supplied. You know, and at the end of the day, like I'm not against regulating. I'm sure a lot of these companies that are doing it the right way, they would welcome it, right? It's only the people
Yeah,
who aren't doing it the right way are like, no, that's not like we're none of us are saying no, no regulations or no, just tell us what they are
right,
because there are customers out there who are really like these drinks. They're
right.
so what do we have to do? And just let's work together and figure that out.
Yeah, because um, when I what ChatGPT kind of basically said was they're going to change the regulation, but we don't know what that means, right? It's going to change, but okay, well, how do we do that? How does that get done?
Yeah, it'll probably be, but they called it the 2018 Farm Bill, and then it just
Yeah,
got kicked and kicked. I mean, maybe doing nothing is probably the most likely scenario where they just keep everyone in limbo for a bit while they do carve outs. I have no idea.
yeah. I can't. Well, what's the worst that could happen? They start fining people? Like, what's the penalty?
Yeah, well, I think
So
that's the
there's
start of it. The worst that can happen is they kill the industry, right? So they start
yeah,
finding a retailer for having it on their shelves, and then
yeah,
boom, they don't do any more orders, and then boom, these manufacturers lose out on money, these brands lose. They just, I
yeah,
mean, I don't like to think about that, but I mean, if you're thinking worst case scenario, they could
yeah,
they could do whatever they want. It just doesn't make sense to me.
yeah. I do think that sure, right, it should be regulated to some degree anyway, but
It
but
should be
but be,
regulated just like alcohol.
yeah, be clear about it. Just come. I guess the problem is, and I think Gene mentioned this, is there's not enough research for them to hand over for the to the to Congress to make laws around it.
Well, I think that's why they pushed the Schedule 3 forward.
Yeah.
That's why I said the timing was interesting, right?
Yeah.
It's like,
They weren't
okay,
on the
schedule
same page.
the exact schedule, or maybe they were, like, Schedule 3, then we're gonna put this in, get everyone excited, but we're gonna have the clinical studies being done right now, and then we'll have a better idea of what cannabinoids we can or can't include. But that's just me, that's a
Oh, okay.
way out there
That's
guess, but the timing was just very interesting.
fishy.
Yeah.
Now, did Trump do that before the shutdown or during the shutdown?
I think he did it before the shutdown. It happened. He did that before the bill went in with the hemp because and it's interesting because I'm on both sides of it. So because we do run a compliant cannabis operation in California, right? So I mean, this would be very beneficial if they did do, Schedule 3 gives those guys access to banking, and it does a couple other things like it gets rid of the 280 taxes, which helps the business. But if that happened and they could do interstate commerce, right? So basically you can do that if it's Schedule 3 and, the states get on board. That would be a boon to the California economy and actually help the rest of the country as far as costs for cannabis in general, because you could send fresh product. It's a bigger infrastructure rather than building a building here, heating it with, they're not very energy efficient, right?
Right.
You know, put the parameters on of, because it's very stringent to have it safe for human consumption.
Yeah.
But that's just that could be a way to open it up to the rest of the country too, instead of having capital investments in all these states and having all states have their own regulatory agency and all this. Okay, plug it in that way. Let's build it on the framework of how we do alcohol in the country. It's worked for years and we have the infrastructure to do it. So it would be a logical step.
Interesting. And so if the bill is stays as it is, does that affect you currently?
It would affect me in the markets so they don't carve out beverages, because then you couldn't sell it in those markets. But like I said, there's several states that have already carved it out and said beverages are okay because we can manage the dose so well. We know exactly what's
Yep.
in. So it just gives
Okay.
them an extra like risk mitigation.
Yeah. I think that's fantastic news. And I'm sure if word gets around most or many states, I would say we'll do the same thing because it's just too much money. I mean, that seems like a more workable solution because I trust a state to pass something faster than Congress, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. And if Congress passes it, or if they say, okay, this is good, that sets the precedent, right? And then you don't have to fight it. Then you don't have to have a state regulatory body. And then you don't have to do, it's just like, how many layers of government do we need to sell a tomato? I mean, it's basically like, oh, THC or CBD. It's like, I mean, I can't, you're outlawed for selling, green tomatoes, okay.
Oh, that would be funny. Yeah. I mean, that's the laughable part of it, right? It's just ridiculous. I
Crazy
mean,
world we live in.
well, I mean, you think about the 80s, you remember I mean, you were born in the 80s, so you may not
70s.
remember. Okay, so I'm a 70s girl too. I'm a bicentennial baby.
Oh, 78.
Yeah. Okay, so you're a little bit younger than I am. And do you remember the 80s? This is what happens when you do drugs. This is they
I
put
remember
an
the
egg in a
frying pan
frying pan.
and with the egg and dare. And I was like, man, okay. I mean, that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's hilarious because my kids are going through dare right now in school. And I'm sitting these kids, I'm like, okay, Dare's just talking about drugs and just I'm like, this stuff could be totally outdated. Like I kind of like understand a little bit, but I'm like, why don't they just talk about addiction? Because these kids are staring at screens all day. I'm like, that is like the mental state these kids get in. I would rather
Right.
have them do something else.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. And I was thinking, and I don't know how young your kids are, but like I was thinking in college maybe and in high school, I think junior high is too little, but teaching emotional intelligence which goes into being adult. That would
They'd have
just
to
make too
listen to
much
their parents
sense.
first. I don't know if they're going to listen. Yeah, they don't listen to me anyway. I ain't going to take my advice.
I'm trying to think of where does that switch happen? Is it high school? Is it college? Because growing up, I was an athlete. I was from a small town. Kind of had not blinders on, but kind of blinders, and you go to your first psychology class in college, and they're talking about your parents and how they're in the sandwich years of being an empty nester and losing your parents and they're falling ill. And as a kid, you sympathize with them at that moment, but you don't think about them as a human being going through all of these emotions. And it was like such a dawning thing on me, which, I guess that had a huge impact on, my emotional capacity to think about what my parents were going through. And that to me is kind of on the lines of that emotional intelligence. Anyway, I didn't mean to go down that
You know,
rabbit hole,
it's
but
an interesting I had this thought. I watched The Breakfast Club like about a year ago, and it's the first time I saw it in 20 years. And I watched it and I remembered watching it and I was like, I don't remember this movie being anything like this when I watched it 20 years ago. Yeah, have you ever done that? Go watch a movie, like in your frame of mind, like your teenagers, like, oh yeah, yeah. Now you see it, and you're like, what? You're like,
I'll
it's
have to
I think
watch
that's
it.
different.
Yeah, I'll ping you. Let you know my reaction. Yeah, good times. That was a good movie.
Yes.
So, switching back over to you, do you want to talk anything else about the brand before we I just have a few questions to ask you and we'll wrap up.
What? Ask me the questions first. I'll see if you cover them in your questions.
Okay. So, do you have any mentors or resources that you'd like to share with others? Share your stories of a mentor or any resources that were beneficial for you as you were learning this industry?
Yeah. Well, learning this industry I mean, it came from a lot of different things. So, prior to in the nutrition world, I was in banking and I had a lot of good mentors there. So I was very fortunate to be exposed to business owners and I became close with a couple of them. And they really gave me the confidence to go out and be like, hey, you got to think different. You got to take chances. You got to do that. You got to like go through it a little bit. Right. So, as far as mindset or mentoring me on that, that was great. I was also, worked with a lot of Navy SEALs. I had a boss who was a Navy SEAL and, was introduced to a bunch of them. What they go through on a physical and mental and whatever, like mentorship on just the mindset of kind of what you have to bring every single day if you want to be successful, right? And just like ingraining it in hard work. And because that's any business or just any person in general. Everyone's going through something, right? So it's just like how you look at it, how you flip the script. So I think that's helped. Now, nutrition and beverages, I worked with a lot of high level people, and they were always very focused on product quality, knowing where it came from, caring about your customers. But it comes to a point where too you got to learn some of that yourself, right? So you got to jump off, go back, have some questions. And in the cannabis industry, I've met a lot of people. Some of them, I've learned a lot of lessons, right? Some good ones and some bad ones. But that's just, every industry's got that as well. But you find some really good people who care about the plant. And in California, I'll tell you I've been all over the country and there's a lot of people who really understand what's going on with the plant, how it can be used better. And it's just ahead of the rest of the country on some of the stuff, but it's still been
Nice.
bottled up for so long, right? Just because of the negative connotations with it. But no, my journey's been filled with a lot of good mentors, a lot of lessons, good and bad. But, you know, it makes it worth it.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Do you have a pain point that you've experienced starting a new company that you've overcome that you'd like to share on how to handle? A
Yeah,
certain
I mean,
specific.
just finding I mean, when you have a company or you start a company, right? It's typically your vision and you know where it's going. You have a good idea, but you very soon, if you're going to turn it into something, realize you can't do it yourself, right? So a pain point, is like you need to find other people who share your vision, who, maybe you can't find them to share your passion on it, but you can get them, enough motivated if you can show them how they can benefit and have it become their passion, right? But in order to do that too, like especially in a growing industry like hemp, where it is volatile all over the place, finding the right partner who's stable, finding someone who can fulfill or stay good on their word, that's a pain point. And then once you figure that out, because that's achievable, it's then now I got to scale this with some employees and staff. And how do we get them? You need people. You need the right people. And it's an interesting time in the workforce now because it's a lot of people shift to this gig economy and then AI is coming in, which has been, I think, a blessing and a curse because it has helped Happy do a lot more things internally as far as like administrative or processing or just like, the communication has gotten a lot better. Now, you can't use AI to automate. And I think that's a shortfall of a lot of people like, oh, we can get AI to do this and that. Like, you can't replace all humans. Like, that's
Right.
not possible. If you are,
It's not
you have a
possible.
sloppy work product, right? Because
Yeah.
it's just spitting stuff out, but it can speed things up. It could improve your quality work if you got the right people, making the edits they need and doing, whatever else. And then, being a small business owner, the communication, hey, because I got people in California, I got people in Oklahoma, Pennsylvania, Texas. Like, okay, how do we keep everyone on the same page? Because we don't have the big budgets of, some of these other beverage companies that have a CRM and have all this stuff. So, but AI has allowed us to really kind of tighten that up a little bit so we at least can compete.
Gotcha. Okay. One thing I meant to ask you is I know I understand the data and reporting through distributors and whatnot and the beverage side, but I don't understand it from your side of the business. Is it similar, do you think? Like, do you get like depletion sales from the distributor on what accounts are buying?
Yeah. So yeah, it just depends on your distributor. Some do, some don't. And then there is some software that we're testing that will actually go in and link into point of sale systems and give us kind of data velocity. And once we know that, then we know, okay, it's about time for a reorder or let's run a promo on this. But those are some of the things that, these new systems and AI are giving us access to because, once again, everyone's short on staff, good staff. So to add one more thing to your distributor or, hey, store, give me a report. It's just like, we have to make it as easy as possible on them and just help them move drinks. That's my main focus.
Yeah. No, absolutely. 100%. Like it's interesting. It's interesting to see how AI is really playing into this.
Yeah, and it's getting
From a
better
data
every day.
perspective. Yeah.
So it's real time. So it's like, okay, I know what our AOC is, Amazon. I understand that like real time. It allows me to not be like, okay, a month later, okay, that was a bad decision. Like we can change gears real quick. We're nimble enough to do it. And that, because cash flow is the lifeblood of a company. So we got to know real quick what's going on because all, companies with these tools that I didn't have access to before, they're doing it on a daily basis. Like for us to be playing with them, we have to find a way to do that.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Absolutely. So, what's your outlook for 2026 minus all the politics stuff?
I think for Happy, I'm excited about it. It's going to be a good year. So we've got some new markets we're going into. Feedback's been great. We just launched our 10 milligram Happies, the Happiers, so higher dose. We got 5 milligram and 10. We're speaking with some retailers on the mushroom or the mushroom drink too. there's been a couple brands that have focused on this mushroom things, and the market is exploding on functional mushrooms. So
Yeah.
I think we got a great product, and I think as long as we get it in people's hands and they can try it, I think they're gonna want to try it again and again.
Yeah, I do too. Yeah, 100%. No, they're good quality, clean, fresh, uh, good
Yeah.
flavor cocktails. So congratulations to you and your team. You're crushing it. And yeah, if there's anything I can do to help whenever if you want to go overseas, I can't sell it to the military, but I can sell it in other markets,
Hey, you can sell
other
the mushrooms
countries.
to 'em,
What's that?
the fungi fusion.
Yeah, I guess that could we could sell that in the military.
Yeah,
All right. Well, I can help you there.
let's do it. I'm in. Let's figure that
All
out.
right. Let's figure that out. That sounds fun.
Yeah.
That's cool. That's really fun. So, do you want to play a quick little game? It's just like a rapid fire game, and I just ask you a couple questions and you
Let's
just
go.
whatever comes. Okay. So, if you were a cocktail, what would you be?
I like the Greyhound.
The Greyhound. Okay. Good one. I like it. What's your favorite type of food?
Mexican.
Where's your favorite place to travel?
Wow, that's a good one. I like Costa Rica.
That's a good place. Do you have a one-liner or favorite one-liner you like to share from a movie or a song or something?
That one caught me off guard.
Yeah, it's a hard one. I've only had one person really be able to do it. And I asked that question because it does get a lot of views. I mean, people do like it.
I do like the what I see now. I don't know where it came from, but because if you get me with my friends, we're all doing one-liners, just
I
off the
know.
cuff, but like,
It'll just
what's
roll
the
off
one
your
where
tongue.
it's like, always be closing or something? Is that from Boiler Room or something? Always be
I don't know.
closing.
I don't
Something like,
like closing a deal.
yeah.
Yeah, that's a good
Coffee's
one.
for closers. Always be closing.
That's awesome. Well, Pete, thank you so much for sending product and jumping on a call with me and taking time out of your day to talk about the product and learn a little bit about you.
No, I really enjoyed it, Jesse. Thank you so much. I'm glad you enjoyed the drinks. And yeah, let's circle back on that military thing.
Yeah, that sounds like fun. Let's do it. Okay. Alrighty. Take care.
Take care.
Bye. Produced by Fedora J Productions.